Russia's defense ministry says its forces struck military-industrial sites in Kiev, producing hundreds of drones each month, along with field dumps in Odessa region used by the Ukrainian army. Targets included smart intelligence systems, which manufactures drone components, and a separate site assembling attack and reconnaissance drones with US-Ukrainian involvement. In Odessa, fuel tanks at Chernomorsk port were destroyed. Local authorities reported fires in 3 Kyiv districts, while President Volodymyr Zelensky claims Russia launched 8 missiles and 136 drones, with many intercepted, but some hitting 18 locations. Ukraine's Air Force said it downed over 100 drones and several missiles, though others caused damage and injuries. Moscow says the strikes are retaliation for Ukrainian long-range attacks on Russian infrastructure, insisting civilians are not targeted. President Vladimir Putin has warned that any attempt to harass Russia's merchant fleet must be fought decisively, comparing such actions to piracy. Speaking to commanders of Russia's standing fleet on Sunday, Putin said the country must act cautiously but firmly within international maritime law to protect its vessels. His remarks follow repeated seizures of ships by the UK and EU, accused of being part of Russia's so-called shadow fleet used to bypass sanctions. Moscow has rejected the allegations, calling the seizures acts of piracy. The EU's latest sanctions package now allows member states to confiscate Russian oil cargoes and manage or sell them. Supporters of Niger's military-led authorities praised reforms on Saturday as the country marked 3 years since the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland seized power. Security expert Gaochefu Musa highlighted initiatives in community policing, counterterrorism, and combating disinformation, while civil society voices pointed to governance progress despite sanctions. But critics, including students, say the military has failed to deliver jobs and stability, with unemployment still widespread. The July 2023 coup ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, citing insecurity and sovereignty concerns. Since then, Niger has deepened ties with Mali and Burkina Faso through the alliance of Sahel states, withdrawing from Equates in 2024. Lebanese Prime Minister Dr. Nawaf Salam arrived in Baghdad on Sunday, leading a ministerial delegation for an official visit to Iraq. Footage showed Salam's reception at Baghdad airport by Iraqi Finance Minister Faye before the two sides met in the VIP hall. Iraqi officials confirmed Prime Minister Ali Faleh al-Zaidi will host Salam at the government palace for bilateral and expanded meetings with ministers. Talks are expected to focus on strengthening relations, expanding cooperation in energy, and addressing regional and international issues. Lebanese media report discussions will also cover the Iraq-Syria-Lebanon oil pipeline project. Mali has pushed back against reports that the United States is considering military action against the Al-Qaeda-linked group for the support of Islam and Muslims, or JNIM. Speaking in Bamako late last week, Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop said Mali had received no official confirmation from Washington and stressed that any cooperation must respect the country's sovereignty and the interests of its people. Deputy Defense Minister Omar Diarra warned Mali is facing unprecedented attacks by armed groups backed by foreign sponsors, but insisted the nation remains steadfast and sovereign. The remarks came as U.S. media reported Washington is weighing limited military options, including possible airstrikes, though no final decision has been announced. Russian Emergency Situations Minister Alexander Kurenkov has called on BRICS nations to strengthen cooperation in tackling cross-border crises. Speaking at a meeting of BRICS emergency services chiefs in New Delhi on Friday, Kurenkov warned of rising risks from earthquakes, floods, wildlife, and other disasters, stressing the need for coordinated action and modern technologies. He said the organization's culture of open partnership ensures all members' interests are respected. Representatives from Russia, Brazil, China, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and the UAE attended the session. The meeting concluded with a joint statement by the heads of BRICS emergency services. Russian President Vladimir Putin toured the Equates aviation plant last Friday, inspecting the upgraded Yak-130M combat trainer. Maneuverability and weapon systems would allow it to engage drones effectively. Putin also reviewed the MS-21310 with a serviceman praising its technical performance and safety. Founded in 1934, the Equates aviation plant produced nearly 2,200 aircraft during the World War II and today oversees the full cycle from design to maintenance. Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye toured venues for the Dakar 2026 Youth Olympic Games on Saturday, with just 100 days to go before Africa hosts its first Olympic event. Footage showed Faye arriving through a crush of reporters before inspecting competition sites. He stressed unfinished work must be completed, saying partial success is not enough and that Dakar must meet all commitments agreed with the IOC. The Games will run from October 31 to November 13 across Dakar, Diamniadio, and Sali, with around 2,700 athletes from 206 national Olympic committees expected to compete. The International Olympic Committee says Dakar 2026 is now in its final delivery phase as organizers race to complete logistics before the opening ceremony. DRC's Prime Minister Judith Souminwa Tuluka visited the Ebola front line in Mongalo over the weekend as medical teams struggle against the country's latest outbreak. She arrived at Mongalo General Hospital under armed guard, meeting exhausted health workers and pledging more support. Souminwa stressed the need to protect staff with equipment and ambulances and confirmed free healthcare will be provided in affected areas. Government figures report over 3,000 confirmed cases and more than 1,300 deaths by July 25, with infections rising rapidly. Violence, shortages, and strikes over unpaid wages are crippling response efforts, especially in Ituri province, where armed group attacks make containment even harder. Addis Ababa will host the first World Summit on July 29 and 30, bringing together world leaders, diplomats, business figures, academics, and youth under the theme, A New World, Africa's Role in Shaping a Common Future. Organized by the World People's Assembly, the summit will feature roundtables on Pan-African economic integration, civil society, education, scientific cooperation, and cultural diplomacy. Secretary General of the World People's Assembly, Andrei Belyaninov, noted, "Today we understand more clearly than ever. The future cannot be built alone. It is born of dialogue, trust, listening to each other, and acting together." The event will also launch joint projects, including the international study Zambezi, Economy, Society, Soul, across 6 African countries. Ahead of the summit, the organizing committee held a press conference for African media, during which its head, Yanina Dubikovskaya, who doubles as the deputy executive director, pointed out the series of public summits the organization holds in various countries and regions around the world to consolidate the efforts of civil society leaders and humanitarian initiatives. The business program of the event will open with a roundtable discussion, Economic Consciousness, the Missing Horizon of Pan-Africanism, organized by the international expert club GlobUs. The summit will equally witness an award ceremony for the leader of public diplomacy, award winners, an exhibition of contemporary African art, and a concert at the Adwa Memorial Complex. It will conclude with the adoption of an African communique outlining a shared vision for international cooperation and development.